Alright, guys, welcome back. And also, I have a mic now. So, today's video is actually about the Hillsborough disaster that happened almost, how many? Today is April 16th, so basically, it happened 33 years ago. So, let's get started. Let's get started with this video. On April 15th, 1989, there was a soccer match between Sheffield and Liverpool, between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest, playing at Sheffield on April 15th. In the time it happened, the disaster was between 2 p.m. and was it 4:10 p.m. local time, which that would have been close around 8 to 10 a.m. Tucson time. Well, it resulted in a human crash with 97 total deaths, 94 on the actual day. 3 people later died. I think maybe 3 people committed suicide at the time. I don't know. There were 2 inquiries. The Taylor Report in 1990 was overseen by Lord Justice Taylor on the causes of the Hillsborough disaster, and the 2012 Hillsborough Independent Panel, which actually was for the apology. So, up until 1991, these disasters the deaths were considered accidental due to it being a human crush. The families disputed the findings and ordered for the case to be reopened in 1997. By the time, Lord Justice Stuart Smith concluded that there was no justification for a new inquiry, meaning that there wasn't enough evidence to open up the case. There's many cases around the United States where they have to, families are fighting to open cases so the victims could have some sort of injustice for them. Let's see. The second coroner's inquiries were held on April 1st to the 26th, April 2016, and they wrote that the supporters were unlawfully killed due to grossly and negligent failures by police and ambulance services to fulfill their duty of care. So basically, they all died under the result of police, under the hands of police. Stupid. Before the disaster, here's a little background. Hillsborough Stadium had been constructed in 1899 to house Sheffield Wednesday, which was selected by the Football Association, or the FA, to be a neutral venue to host the FA Cup semi-finals between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest soccer clubs. The kickoff was scheduled at 3 p.m. on the 15th of April, and fans were advised to take up positions 15 minutes beforehand. At the time, most English soccer stadiums had high-heeled fences between the spectators and playing field, in response of pitch invasions and hooliganism. Which hooliganism is a real thing, where they could start a fight, where they could start a riot, soccer-based riot. Stupid. And up until 1974, these security standards were put in place, and crashes occurred in several English stadiums. And a report by Eastwood and partners for a safety certificate by the stadium in 1978 concluded that although it failed to meet the recommendations of the Green Guide, a guide to safety sports grounds, consequences were minor. So everything was going well to 1989. So there was an inquiry in 1985 about the Bradford City Stadium fire, which was lit on Saturday, 11th of May, 1985 in Yorkshire, England, West Yorkshire. A small crush had happened in 1981 between Tottenham and the Wolverhampton. So these basically are teams from the Premier League. It's a soccer league in the UK. So yeah, there was a lot of change. So the disaster went on like this. Fans, what is it? Liverpool supporters located from the north and west ends from Leppings Lane, going to 24,256 fans who had purchased tickets, reached the 23 turnstiles from a narrow concourse, turnstiles numbered 1 through 10, 10 after all, had access to 9,700 seats in the north stand. A further 6 turnstiles numbered 11 to 16 provide access to 4,456 seats in the upper tier of the west stand. Finally, 7 turnstiles lettered A to G provide access to 10,100 standing places in the lower tier of the west stand. Where Liverpool had more supporters, they had to get more space. Yeah. So there was widespread coverage, nearby coverage about this, of all the people trampling over the gate. So, yeah, people were trampling over the gates to try to see if they could get in. 3 chartered trains transported Liverpool supporters to Sheffield on the match for a match in 1988. But only one such train ran in 1989. About 350 passengers arrived at the ground at about 2:20 p.m. Supporters, which enjoyed the day with no hurry, to enter the stadium too early. And some supporters were delayed from roadworks while the crossing of the Pennines, which are a range of mountains in between 3 regions of the North England, Northwest England, West and Northwest England, and Yorkshire, Humber on the east. Between 2:30 and 2:40, there was a build-up of supporters outside the turnstiles facing Leppings Lane, eager to enter the stadium before the game. At 2:46 p.m., the BBC's football commentator, John Motson, had already noticed the uneven distribution of people in the Leppings Lane pens. While rehearsing for the match air-off, he suggested near my cameraman to look as well. He said, quote unquote, "There's gaps, in parts of the ground. Well, if you look at the Liverpool end to the right of the goal, there's hardly anyone on those steps. That's it. Look down there." Outside the stadium, a bottleneck developed with more fans arriving then could be safely filtered through the turnstiles before 3 p.m. People were presenting tickets at the wrong turnstiles, and those who had refused entry could not leave because of the crowd behind them and remained as an obstruction. Fans outside could hear cheering from the teams. They could hear cheering as the teams came onto the pitch. And on 10 minutes before the match started, as the match kicked off, they could not regain entrance. Police and a constable on the radio control requesting that the game be delayed. It had been 2 years before, ensure safe passage. The request to delay the start of the match by 20 minutes was originally declined. There's been 5,000 fans trying to enter through the turnstiles, increasing safety concerns for the police to stop them. So they opened the gate C just so they could let them in. Here's a photo if you guys can see. Yeah. That's the photo of people. There we go. That's the photo of the people trying to get in. Yeah. So that was actually the photo of the people who were actually trying to get in. Yeah, copyrighted, I'm gonna be stupid. So, eventually, this was from the website contrast.org. The crush. When gates were opened, thousands and thousands of fans entered a narrow tunnel leading from the rear of the entrance into two overcrowded central pens 3 and 4, which are behind the original goal, creating pressure in the front. Hundreds of people were pressed against one another and the fence by the weight of the crowd behind them. People entering it were aware of the problems at the fence. Police or stewards, the people who are like the guards, the name of the guards in England, were stewards who stood still at the entrance at the tunnel end for the central pens reached capacity. The match between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest began as scheduled at 3 p.m. And fans still screaming into pens 3 and 4 from the rear entrance tunnel as the match began. For some time, problems at the front of the Liverpool Central goal pens went largely unnoticed except for those inside of them and a few police at the end of the pitch. There was few police by the end of the pitch. So yeah, I think this is the easiest thing to do to get past 10 minutes. What is it? The Liverpool's goalkeeper reported that the fans behind him were pleading him for help as the situation worsened. The police at first attempted to stop the fans from spilling out of the pens. Approximately 3:04, a shot from Liverpool's Peter Beardsley hit the bar, possibly connected to excitement in surge in pen 3, caused one of its metal crush barriers to give away. South Yorkshire police responded, and they tried to get, so one of the ground commanders ran and to get the attention of referee Ray Lewis. And then Lewis stopped the match at 30 seconds till 3:06 p.m. or at 3:05, 30 seconds. So 3:05 p.m., 30 seconds. By then, there were people who were actually trying to jump over the fence. And they were told that there would be a 30-minute postponement of what had happened. Many people had died. Many victims had died from compressive asphyxia, which is when you're crushed and you stop breathing. Many of them were sent to many were on the pitch. Police stewards and members of the St. John ambulance service were overwhelmed. As uninjured fans assisted the injured, several attempted CPR. Some tore advertising hoardings used as stretchers. Yeah, because there wasn't even any stretchers available. Let's see. Let me see. Where is it? Yep. There it is. Yeah. There's a photo of the people trying to trample over. And the South Yorkshire Metropolitan Ambulance Service and had ambulances to enter the area to perform CPR and to take people to nearby hospital. But I explained in the report later on that the equipment was no use on the ambulance vehicle when the critical early resuscitation was taking place some distance away from the pitch, behind the Leppings Lane and the gymnasium. Some ambulance crew did not take equipment when they left their vehicle, and there was no systematic direction to do so. Not all did, and that initially had been given any information about the situation inside the stadium. Total 42 ambulances entered the stadium, which there was 100 remaining 39 ambulances were collectively able to transport approximately 149 people either to Northern General Hospital, Royal Hallamshire Hospital, or Barnsley Hospital for treatment. Condolences, and so hours later, condolences started to flood in. The Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth, reacted to this. Other messages from Pope John Paul II, U.S. President George H.W. Bush, and Chief Executive of soccer, the Italian soccer and team Juventus, which Liverpool and Juventus were involved in the Heysel Stadium disaster, which is another crash happened back in 1983, which I believe was back in 1985, on May 29, 1985. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and Home Secretary Douglas Hurd visited Hillsborough the day after. The following days after, more than 200,000 people visited the shrine outside the stadium. The following Sunday, a link of soccer scarves spanning 1 mile distance across from Stanley Park to Goodison Park, positioned at 6 p.m. by a scarf, positioned at the time. Elsewhere on the same day, a silence opened an Aryan siren at 3 o'clock, just out in central Nottingham, the colours of Forest, Liverpool and Wednesday, and adorning the Nottingham and the council house, basically in honor of the teams Nottingham Forest, Liverpool, and Sheffield Wednesday. And then by then, 3,000 people had held a Catholic. They had held a Catholic, and a Catholic service at the Liverpool Metropolitan Cathedral, attended by 3,000 people. Liverpool goalkeeper also gave the first reading. Liverpool players and their former manager also carried the communion bread and wine. And an overall investigation actually targeted that made. So the overall investigation done actually pointed at Liverpool fans were considered the beasts, or known as the devils, in this. But there was a happy ending at the end. At the 1989 FA Cup final between Liverpool and Everton, so 5 weeks after the Hillsborough Disaster, players both from the participating teams wore black armbands as a gesture to respect to the victims. The final match of the 1988-89 soccer and Premier League season consisted on the 26th of May 1989 between Liverpool and second place Arsenal. Arsenal players presented flowers to the fans in different parts of Anfield in memory of those who had died in the Hillsborough Disaster, which Arsenal would later beat Liverpool 2-0, which was played at Anfield. Yeah. An appeals fund was understood by the UK government, and they donated £500,000, £500,000, so around like $660,000, and around £100,000 sterlings from Liverpool, and £5,000 each from the cities of Liverpool, Sheffield, and Nottingham. The two teams from the Bradford City and Lincoln City met for the first time since the 1985 disaster, and the game raised $25,000 for the Hillsborough Fund. By the time the appeal closed in 1990, raised more than £12 million, or close to $15 million. And charity songs were made. On the disaster's 10th anniversary in 1999, these 3 people who had to survive were known to have taken their own lives. Their survivor had spent 8 years in psychiatric care. There were cases of alcoholism, drug abuse, and collapsed marriages involved. People had been witnessed by the events and lingering events of the disaster, were seen as a cause or a contributing factor to all of these. And there was more, that's in 96 then. But, but there's actually someone who had recently died he had actually died not too long ago. What is it? Andrew Devine, one of the people who was actually, was it? It's actually in the disaster. And he was 22 at the time at the crash, during the crash. And he had actually had died in 2021 at the age of 50. I don't know how old he was. He was 55 and actually died. He died at 55 in 2021. So it said that there's a victim there was a person who should have been a victim due to work commitments. It solicited to a friend who had died in a disaster. Which resulted in the guy's death. So he says he committed suicide in February 2011, claiming that it's his fault that his friend died in the crash. It was survivor guilt. Yeah. The youngest person to die was 10 years old, and the oldest was 67. So yeah. But many people blamed the fans, but it was, yeah. So basically that's what happened. The last scrutiny happened, and what is it? The 30th anniversary was back in 2019. The 35th anniversary will be in 2024. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.